It seems my small cry into the void was more successful than I expected. Even with all my mistakes in the ideas and their presentation, I still consider it a good result, so why not continue with a new list of problems that might show us what is needed? Lately, the game seems to be moving in a strange direction. It feels like balance, game design, and weapons, literally every part of the game, was affected to just be annoying. And I want to be clear, being annoying is not the same as being difficult. Let's start with our good old favorites, the bunker turrets. They still exist, and the community has been saying they're no fun for their entire existence, pointing out their main problems. They snipe you and ragdoll you even if you're behind a wall. And what did the developers do? They reduced their accuracy, so now they won't snipe you, but they'll still be just as annoying at medium range, and not only do bunker turrets still cause you to ragdoll, but they have also been made a part of a new enemy. And what about the bugs? Nowadays they don't give you a chance. Want to use a stim? Too bad. Want to run away? Nope. The bugs don't give players room to breathe because they have no cooldown between their attacks. They won't let you escape and you're forced to bring a special loadout just to be able to have fun. You might say, just lower the difficulty, but my low-level friends and I did, and it didn't help. It was so bad that to make the game fun for everyone, we had to switch to automatons, a faction that has historically been considered unfriendly to beginners. This all comes down to a problem with enemy design, where good game design has jumped out the window of a 9-story building. Did you know that some games reward players for their skill? For example, if you shoot a small and constantly moving head, you'll deal extra damage so you can kill a bulky enemy like Overseers fast? Well, forget about that here. They have extra armor on their heads, so that's another reason not to take light armor-piercing weapons. Or meet the Flash Mob, a creature with no armor but so much HP it can survive a thermite grenade. You can try to slow it down by shooting its legs, like a Hulk, but even after you do it, it will have zero effect on its speed. Want to have fast-paced gameplay? Meet the Leviathan, a flying support platform that supports by death and can one-tab you even in heavy armor. Want to use a walker? Not this time. And if you and your team spend a good amount of time bringing one down, it will just respawn a minute later, just like the Dragon Roach. And I can understand that games should be difficult, but at the same time, why should they be annoying? A good way to make a game difficult is to change the conditions or create new challenges with clear, difficult parts and ways to counter them. So what do we see instead? Let's look at modifiers, for example. Stratagem call-in time increased by 50%. Yeah, certainly affects the difficulty. Or stratagem reload time increased by 25%. So interesting. But at the same time, we have the Automaton Gunship Patrol, and while it's not entirely original, it's a patrol with clear ways to counter it that can screw you up because of your own fault, and that's a good thing. But why stop there? Look at Deep Rock Galactic. They have their own modifiers called warnings, and while not all of them are fan favorites, they do a great job. Most warnings are modifiers that change the conditions of the game. They aren't mind-blowing, but at the same time, they're significant enough to change the gameplay and strategy. Look at the Cave Leech cluster. It just adds a lot of stationary enemies to the map, and if you don't think about where you're going, you will die. But at the same time, you can easily escape from a cave leech, or you can try to kill it when it starts to attack you. You have perks that can help you counter them, and most importantly, you know that this enemy is present on the level, so if you don't pay attention to that, it's your fault. Or look at the Factory Strider, the embodiment of the anti-democratic force of the automatons. How can you fight it? Well, you can bring a medium armor-piercing weapon to kill its Gatling guns, and then you can kill its belly. You can use an anti-tank weapon like the Recoil Vest rifle and shoot it in the eye. You can get behind it and throw thermite grenades until it dies, and I'm not even talking about the stratagems you can use. In short, you have a clear challenge that has its strengths and weaknesses, and you can use your game knowledge to make your life easier. Then we have enemies like the Dragon Roach. It's extremely fast, has broken hitboxes, and for some reason deals fire damage, unlike other bugs. It has the same weak points as a Bile Titan, but unlike it, it is constantly moving, so have fun trying to kill it without the right gear. And why aren't the wings a weak point? You can make more holes in them than in Swiss cheese, and the damn monstrosity will still fly. And even if you kill them, what's the point if they just respawn 30 seconds later? Usually, Arrowhead's games are the embodiment of power fantasy. The only limit is your skill. This works for Magicka, and it works partially for Helldivers 1, but they want this game to be grounded, which instead results in a bunch of meaningless rules and inconsistencies. Need an example? When the game was released, you could land on a high place, but now you can't, and the enemies don't know that. Want to reload in a car? Well, nope, not a chance, because you can't reload a gun in a car, I guess. Weapons? The Commando can be deployed in 0.5 seconds, and the EAT in 1.5 seconds. Why? Well, reasons, I guess. We have throwing knives, but killing with one of them alerts enemies, while a silent weapon does not. Plasma weapons have unlimited range, but the Epic does not. Hellpod capsules should drop on stratagem beacons, but now your friend will drop anywhere. Is this a bug? A balance change? An unexpected change due to caves? A secret mission modifier? Who knows? And my problem is that it's not Grand Fantasy. Like again, why when I destroy the wings of a new Dragon Roach enemy, it can still fly? It's not realistic or being grounded, it's just nonsense. Or look at the Flamethrower, a terrifying and painful weapon. But the bugs don't give a shit, and now it's more effective on automatons than bugs. Is this realism? Is this Grand Fantasy? Nope, it's not. It's a cut on creativity, it's a cut on interesting gameplay, and it basically says in your face, you're playing the game wrong. And now I have concerns about future content. I can understand that the game is big, but where are the experiments? Why now is armor a mix of what already exists, with the exception of the control group? I can understand the changes in the Masters of Ceremony, Truth Enforcers, and the Servants of Freedom. They went from useless to normal at the cost of losing their absolute originality. But at the same time, why do the new ones apply the same logic? Why not try something new? For example, having 2 support weapon slots at the cost of a backpack. Why not try to bring back stratagem priority by taking away half of the stems? Or auto-injectors, or having some on-hit effects, like fire or stun pods. One of the most significant issues fueling the current frustration is the state of communication. Even though it was promised to be improved, I have a feeling that it will remain a one-way street. Right now, the developers use platforms like Discord to broadcast information to the community, such as patch notes or what will be in an upcoming update, and it's good. But the problem with a platform like Discord is that while it works wonderfully for smaller communities, it struggles to facilitate meaningful dialogue in a massive server with thousands of active users. Trying to get a developer's attention by pinging them is pointless 99% of the time. Reddit suffers from a similar problem, where meaningful back and forth is often buried. This lack of clear two-way communication leaves everyone in the dark, with only a nuke button in the form of review bombing. However, this can be improved in many ways. A vast untapped resource for feedback already exists within the community: clans. By their very nature, clans are organized groups of people who play together constantly. They possess a deep, practical understanding of what works in the game and what doesn't. Imagine a theoretical stream, where a community manager or developer is having a structured conversation with a representative from an active clan like 1st Colonial Regiment. Taken as an example as one of the most active and public clans, I have zero personal gain. Join the 1st Colonial, be the tip of this. This would be immensely valuable for both sides. The developers could ask targeted questions about player opinions on weapons, enemies, and balance. In return, the community, represented by the clan, could get answers to its pressing questions about bug fixes, weapon rebalancing, and future content. While the pressure on the chosen clan would be enormous, This could be managed by setting clear boundaries before the stream about which topics are off limits, allowing for a simple "sorry, no comment" response when needed. Another powerful tool for building trust is developer streams. While this can be a difficult way to communicate, its main benefit is that it humanizes the company. Instead of being an impersonal entity, we get to see the living people on the other side of the monitor. Hearing their internal stories, the ideas behind their decisions, and their future plans helps the community understand their perspective. It also provides a direct way of communication for developers to see the problems that concern the community and answer questions from the audience in real time. Finally, there is the question of a roadmap. I know we got promises of it, but how long have we heard about it and where is it now? Look at the success of a game like Rainbow Six Siege in its best years. We knew which country new operators would be from, or that a new map was on the way, but the specifics remained a surprise. This didn't kill the game, it fueled interest and managed expectations. Would people really stop playing because they found out about a chance of a new stratagem coming in 2 months? I doubt it. A roadmap provides transparency and gives the community something to look forward to, preventing the kind of uncertainty that leads to frustration. All of these methods, engaging with clans, hosting developer streams, and providing a clear roadmap, would work together to fix the current communication issues. And I'm not even talking about all other forms of communication, like news articles or test servers and so on. So, let's do a quick recap. The game is in a terrible technical and game design state. Players are frustrated because of it and won't changes, but at the same time the developers can't handle everything because of the accumulation of bugs. I won't go in circles and I will say directly that this is the backstory of the Operation Health from good old Rainbow Six Siege. The operation itself was simple. The new content that was planned was put on hold and the developers were instead working on the technical side of the game. And an attentive viewer or listener might say, "Wait a minute, this is just like the 60-day plan," to which I will reply, not quite. While it technically is, officially within 60 days they reworked the numbers in the INA files, but most likely the main forces were thrown into finishing the Illuminate. Maybe not, and some of the forces were thrown into the technical side. At least part of my anti-cheat problems disappeared. And I don't rule out the possibility that someone moved a few cards in Jira, but at the same time I am 90% sure that the main forces were thrown into the Illuminate. And what about now? Well, it's unclear because there is not a lot of communication going on. Like, yes, we knew something will be changed and we will have communication back, but for how long? So, it seems like it's all clear now. It's all the developers' fault. They are lazy, don't want to fix the problems, and much more, right? Well, not exactly. I dare to assume that the developers simply don't have the experience with such large projects, and most likely everything is just accumulating. And I mean only the technical part. I don't particularly envy the game director who has to balance between bugs and new content, prioritize what he wants to do now and what he needs to do now. Not to mention that other developers may want to do something that isn't critical right now, or that someone important could go on sick leave. Or the game design and balance teams causing so many problems, not to mention the publisher and contracts with other publishers and much more. Most likely, the problem of Into the Unjust lies in the fact that it has to be released as an update by a certain date thanks to Microsoft, no matter what the technical state is now. And yes, I will answer the question. So what now? Are we just supposed to feel sorry for the developers and wait for a miracle? Well, not exactly. Unlike other projects, Helldivers 2 can rework old broken content and fix technical problems. It can cause issues, but referring to the experience of the 60-day fixes, it could also turn into a very big hype train. At the same time, I understand that this may not always work out, but replacing a few numbers in the INA file to create new content out of thin air is a simple and cheap solution to the problem. Hell, we see this all the time in the CNC community. At the same time, we as a community should both try to understand the developers and point out their mistakes. While, as I said, there are bugs and technical debt that have accumulated and need to be sorted out, it doesn't remove the responsibility for existing bad game design decisions and the direction that the game's been going in for a long time, and we have every right to point it out and demand it be fixed. So here we are. What next? First, I must say I really hate that we have this cycle where developers are slowly breaking the game, the community in turn wrecks the game's score, and we end up spending a lot of time waiting for the best. But let's hope it's one last time, and let's think what's needed now. I know I'll sound like a student trying to teach a teacher, but I think the feedback I have should be voiced loud and clearly, just to avoid confusion. The game currently has several layers of problems, and like a hierarchy of needs, some of them are more important to fix than others. Before anything else, the game's stability must be top priority. There are no excuses for its current state, and the developers should not even consider releasing new war bonds until the technical part is fixed. I know, developers are working on it, but the main problem is that, with a 99% chance, the game still has huge technical issues that need to be fixed or we won't have a future. This point probably cannot be stressed enough. If the game is floundering and the devs believe the best solution is to add more onto a foundation made of sand instead of stone, it will cause the game to crash and burn, which is what most of live service games like Payday 3 and Killing Floor 3 are heading towards. The current enemy design can only be described as nonsense that makes no sense, and needs a complete overhaul. There are fundamental logic issues, such as the legs of the behemoth charge are no longer being weak points. Certain enemies, like the Dragon Roach, are poorly balanced. They are fast, have a lot of HP, deal a ton of damage, and sometimes appear in large numbers, like a swarm. This is just the tip of the iceberg, as there are deeper problems, starting with enemies and light armor penetration weapons, and ending with the entire Illuminate faction that currently has no real game design at all. Weapons are in an urgent need of logic, consistency, and buffs. There are a ton of weapons that theoretically sound good, but are not effective in reality. For example, the One True Flag is a cool melee weapon that can be placed, but it serves no real purpose because it offers no buffs. As the flag of Super Earth, it should inspire soldiers to fight harder when near it, like a buff banner in Team Fortress 2, which also shows good teamwork and synergy. There is also little point in trying to hit specific enemy parts with light armor-piercing weapons when you can just use a medium armor-piercing weapon and have no problems with that at all. Grenades also suffer from this imbalance. Most are useless and can be replaced by the grenade pistol, with the newly opened slot holding a thermite grenade. There is little reason to take an incendiary grenade when a grenade pistol has almost the same damage, 6 rounds, and can easily be reloaded from small ammo boxes found all over the map. And don't get me wrong, the incendiary grenade is good, it's just outshined by other options. And I'm not even going to touch on laser weapons and God only knows what else. The game's focus needs to return to being a sandbox where players can have fun with friends, rather than what it is at the moment. The attempt to make the game world grounded is good, and I can respect that, but its implementation has resulted in many self-imposed rules that make no sense, have no logic, or aren't grounded in the first place. For example, why nerf a melee weapon when there is no need for it to be nerfed? Or why is the sniper playstyle partially viable only against one faction? Or why is the number of enemies the main effect of difficulty and not their unit composition, and many more? Teamwork elements also feel shallow. When a friend calls for reinforcements, the pod lands 100 meters away instead of right on them where it's needed. Furthermore, many weapons feel balanced by how pleasant they are to use, which makes pistols and submachine guns feel clumsy when they should be light and responsive. This issue extends to support weapons like the HMG, which is annoying to use without the Viper Commando armor bonus, or the anti-material rifle, which has worse ergonomics than the much larger LAS 98 shoulder-based laser complex. Even the stim pistol, an amazing tool on paper for creating fun moments with friends, seems forgotten in its current state. While the UI and UX is improving, it sometimes feels like it's moving backward. Players are given less information than before. For instance, you cannot see what kind of enemies you'll be fighting until you land on the mission. Is it bile bugs, or maybe 1000 hunters? Mission icons that were present before a major UI update have also disappeared. Weapon descriptions can be inaccurate. The SMG-72 pummeler's diagram shows a large spread even though its recoil is small. Weapon damage numbers are also misleading. The Punisher Plasma is listed with 250 damage, but kills Devastators with 450 HP in 3-4 hits. Perhaps due to small durable damage or bugged splash damage, you can't be sure. I don't even know what to say here. The problem, with the exception of performance, essentially lies in the small things that have been accumulating and so far have culminated into a massive mountain, leaving barely any ground to stand on. For example, if only one type of bug were unbalanced, would it cause problems? No. Or if one stratagem were worse than another? Also no. But now, because everything has accumulated, the game is in a very bad state. I hope that this goddamn cycle won't repeat itself again and the developers will manage to make the game grounded while retaining their creativity. But let's hope for the best, divers.